Now this video is going to be a continuation from 2 days ago where I did my trailer breakdown analysis of the F1 25 reveal. Now for this video we're going to be going through every single piece of information with a fine-tooth comb, everything that we know is confirmed, and also at the end I'll leave a timestamp on the video, my thoughts and opinions regarding this game, slash kind of predictions and what I genuinely think, objectively without being paid or nothing. I just want to give my true thoughts, concerns, and where I stand. Now for this video I have points written down, pen and paper, to make sure I don't forget anything. So we're going to start out with what for me is the biggest thing for this game and what gives me the most optimism, genuinely objectively speaking here, is the fact it's only on current gen or next gen, depending on how you want to phrase it. But basically it's on PS5, Xbox Series X, S and PC. So we've dropped PS4 and Xbox One. Now the main thing about this is what this is going to allow and enable is that we get an upgrade to the Ego engine. So it seems like we're not going anywhere. Ego engine is here to stay, has been the case for pretty much forever with the F1 games. But the last big notable change, even though they've kind of progressively made improvements every now and again, the big improvements have come in since 2015. The F1 2015 game was the big overhaul with the graphics engine upgrade, jumping generations, and we've basically been running on a slightly revised version every single year since then. But this year we've had a bit of a jump, and that's confirmed because they're talking about it actively in their press release, and also there's one particular screenshot which confirms also the visuals are getting a big upgrade, and that is this one right here. Now this I didn't cover the other day in my video. We found this afterwards on the Steam page, and it's the Williams at Imola. And even if you're a massive hater, objectively speaking, this looks quite different to any F1 24 screenshot, because the lighting here looks way better and way more advanced. And I think, I'm not going to say the Ego engine is going to have a 3.0 to a 4.0 step, but maybe like at 3.5. There's going to be a noticeable improvement, and we'll come back to that point in just a bit. But basically, in a nutshell, new Ego engine updates, along with of course dropping the old hardware, means we can take a step forward now. And essentially, whereas before we was limited by how much the PS4 and the Xbox One could really achieve in terms of power by dropping those consoles, you can now really scale it up and take advantage of the extra horsepower of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X to basically really push the boundaries and also the Ego engine forward. Point 2 is going to be breaking point. To be fair, not a ton to talk about here. So basically this, logically, breaking point 3 should be the final chapter. In this one we are fighting for a championship. However, there's a dramatic event which throws the team into chaos. So what could that be? We're going to find out. One big potential curveball or surprise event, which could be a good thing. Breaking Point has been fairly linear in the past few years. I played the 2019 story mode. I did not finish the 2021 Breaking Point Part 1. I played the entirety of 23 and actually quite enjoyed that, to be fair. I just wish the difficulty was harder, for people like me who play 110 AI and compete in league racing. But this one might have a decent curveball thrown in the mix. Speaking of AI difficulty, they did mention there is going to be new difficulty options for returning veterans and rookies. So basically, we're going to get a bigger scale. Hopefully, that harder option or those harder options are genuinely harder, because I actually quite enjoyed F1 23's Breaking Point. It was just a bit too easy. Had it genuinely been a bit more difficult and more competitive, I actually would have quite enjoyed it. I didn't half mind it. Now with that out the way, of course, the big thing this year is My Team 2.0, or revamped My Team. Now, unlike in the previous video, again, more information has come to light. We have this picture from the Steam store, and I want to start out with this because this is huge. Now, number one, we have a new FOM multiplayer car chassis. It's been, quite heavily revised, updated. Front wing, front nose, side pod, engine cover, rear wing, mirrors. It's had a pretty big facelift. However, in this particular screenshot, if you notice pretty closely, the way the sponsors and the design of the stars and just generally the car livery itself has been massively rearranged, and I think this heavily points at potentially more customization within the livery editor, because before you was very restricted to essentially, fixed design presets where you could change the color and then, just put some sponsors on. But this is actually a bit more different at past years. You can see the sponsors are a bit more rearranged and things definitely seem to look a bit different compared to the past. Now, some really key tells here, for example, is the number is vastly revised. Not just that, we also have a different sponsor arrangement on the side pod. There's 3 different sponsors on there. We also have 2 sponsors on the rear wing. We've got one on the halo, on the side of the halo, and then the tri-star runs all the way down the side of the nose, and we also have stars on the front wing. So definitely I feel like there's a pretty heavy update coming in for my team. To what level are we going to get full customization? I don't know, because EA do like their podium pass and their DLCs and their pit coins, but this is a very good step in terms of my team customization. Now, some of the cool taglines they used in the kind of press release was calling the shots, which could imply more control. Also, new responsibilities before getting behind the wheel. So it's interesting. I wonder if they're going to take a leaf out of F1 Manager. F1 Manager has really pushed the boundaries here in terms of what's possible with their FOM, FIA or F1 red tape, and basically giving you full control. And if the rumors are true and F1 Manager is getting put on the shelf for 2025, then that would give F1 maybe some free license to explore those avenues. And we need a bit of an update in terms of what we can do with my team. So I really hope we get a lot more options. And of course, the new Vista is one of the things they're showcasing here, which might be a change. But we need to see some real substantial changes and info here to really get excited about this, because right now I'm still not really moved. However, there is one thing to note. There's an interesting point in the brief, and it does say no longer drive as yourself. Basically, you can pick to drive as one of your 2 drivers, which is interesting. I actually quite like this, because that's what driver career is for. Driver career is for you to drive as yourself or an official driver, but also yourself as an option. I never really liked the whole storyline narrative of you drive for your own team. Do you know what I mean? I know it has happened in the past, but let's be real, it's not happening nowadays. It's not going to happen anytime soon. So I like that you basically are more of a manager or a team principal, and you basically then just pick to drive as one of your 2 drivers throughout the season. It also gives you the chance to basically keep them level, score equalish points with both, and also level them up if you're going for 2 young drivers to basically really improve them. So I do think this is quite an interesting point of view. Also, another thing that slipped through the cracks in my previous video is the F3 driver icons, which, by the way, are only available in the Iconic Edition. More on that later. But basically, as far as we can tell, there's no F3 official licensing, so we're not going to get F3 as a series or F3 cars, only the drivers. Essentially, adding more depth to the driver roster in the My Team Career Mode universe. Now, important to note here, this is only Iconic Edition, so bear that in mind. If you want the F3 drivers, you're going to have to go through there. Now then, point number 4, reverse races. This hasn't been mentioned anywhere. This is what everyone has been implying, and of course you could see clearly in the trailer by the commentary, which was given away. Essentially, we're getting reverse rounds. Now, from the trailer, there is 3 tracks, and this brings me to my concern. Is this yet another half-baked feature they're putting into the game? In the trailer, you have Austria, Zandvoort, and Silverstone. No more tracks are shown. Knowing Codemasters and knowing EA and knowing how they are with these things, they might have only shown those 3 for a reason, and that's because there are no more tracks in which the reverse race is compatible, and it's only those 3 for the game, which would be very in line with what Codemasters do, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. And if so, it kind of takes away from this being a big thing, which, to be fair, they haven't announced it officially. It's in the trailer, but there's no mention of it in the press brief or the website, so make of that what you will, but my gut feeling says it's only for those 3 tracks. And if I'm wrong, come back to this video and prove me wrong, but I'm pretty certain that's the way it's going to be. And just to quickly mention again, it's a shame because it helps give a bit more depth. Like, for example, if you could actually league race, for example, for me, who's a career mode guy and a league racing guy, if you could league race at Reverse Austria, Zandvoort and Silverstone, that's actually quite decent, and it basically is like a new track. It does transform the dynamic of the race circuit, and it makes you wonder, if you have 24 tracks in a season, if you could do reverse on all of them and the game actually has it as a compatible feature, you've basically got 48 tracks, which would be a lot better. And that also brings me back to, why not bring back short circuits? You had them in the past, the framework is there, the tracks are built, it's all there. Why not bring them back and potentially add more? Because it's a cheap, easy feature which adds to the game depth. And also, elimination mode, not in the game, hasn't been in the game. We know at some point it will probably be dropped as like a season pass or a temporary feature, but I don't see why that's not a permanent game mode, because actually I think it's quite fun. So this is where we go back to the Ego Engine point, and I'm going to be talking about improved circuits. So, for context, in past F1 games, Codemasters or EA have traditionally updated 1 to 2, usually 2 circuits entirely, and then we'll get like a sponsor or recoloring of like 2 other tracks. Basically just external details, but the track doesn't actually change. Now in F1 24 that was of course Spa and Silverstone, and then visually we had updates to Jeddah and Qatar. The year before that I think we had Japan, which was updated, and you get the idea. Basically every year there's going to be a few adjustments. Now that trend I think is going to change this year, because a big tagline is that they're running a more power, a more improved Ego Engine to basically run LiDAR scanning for circuits, which I think was the case for some of them already, but basically they're making it a big thing this year. They're basically branding it as a feature, which to me implies, or should imply, there's going to be more than at least 2 tracks getting updated, because otherwise I wouldn't be shouting that from the rooftops if you're not going to make multiple updates. Now, I've been watching the trailer back a million times, I've spoken to certain people that I know, and I can say with 95% certainty, Australia, Miami, Imola, Bahrain, they're visible in the trailer to be updated. However, this is where my gripe lies, and it's much like, with the reverse racing being half-baked as a feature. There's other tracks which severely need updates more than these. So, some of them that I've written down: Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Hungary, Monza, Monaco, Baku. Off the top of my head, tracks that need some updates, especially Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Hungary, Monza. Those 5 tracks, which of course are more like open world circuits, excluding Monaco, Baku, because street circuits can be harder to, get scanned because they're temporary circuits, they're not there all year round. But yeah, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Hungary, Monza, those 5 are in desperate need of an update. So we don't know yet for certain, maybe they are, but my gut and what we can see in the trailer, there's little small visuals at different points of Brazil and Mexico, and they don't seem to be updated to me or anybody else that I've spoken to. So we'll see, but I really do hope there's more than 4 tracks which are getting updated in this game, especially because really, Bahrain aside, Imola, Miami and Australia are all very recent. They've all been added to the game or updated in the last 3 years, so they already were pretty close to the real thing. There's other tracks which have basically been the same since F1 2015, like Brazil, which are nowhere near. Now, I also want to quickly recap, and I've left this at the end because it's not important, but I want to, do it anyway and get a few plugs out the way before my final thoughts, of course, which is the most important part of the video. The game releases May 30th. That is the standard edition. The Iconic releases 3 days earlier on the 27th of May. Regarding the Iconic edition, only for that version of the game, if you played F1 23-24 on the PS5, Xbox Series X, S or PC, you will receive a 15% loyalty discount for the Iconic edition. With that out of the way, I also want to quickly note, any version of the game you purchase at any point in time, any platform, if you use my link, my code, then that will directly support me, which is also massively welcome, of course, and I do always appreciate you guys, and it does help me out. Even though there's no discount directly applied, it does benefit the channel. Now, in terms of pricing, the console in euros is 80 for standard, 100 for Iconic. I'm not going to go into 79.99 and try and make it sound good. On the PC we have 60 for standard, 80 for Iconic, and to be fair, PC has had a bit of a price drop compared to last year, I believe by 10 quid, so that's good to see, at least finally a bit of a trim off the edge, I think, on the standard edition. Anyway, in terms of the standard edition, you are just going to get the game, the F175 pack, the F125 starter pack, and 5k Bitcoin for F1 World. And then for the Iconic Edition, we're going to get the same perks basically, but instead of 5k Bitcoin, you're going to get 18,000 Bitcoin. Of course, with the 3 days early access, you're going to get the F1, the movie chapters or scenarios. Also, you're going to get an F1 World pack. You're going to get the Lewis Hamilton F125 pack. Also, the Apex GP pack as well. F3 drivers, of course, as icons in my team, not the actual F3 cars themselves. Then you're going to get the F125 liveries for the FOM car for F124 on time trial only, of course. Lewis Hamilton's King of Silverstone event on F1 World, also on F124. Meh, whatever. And then also, to be fair, this one's quite decent. 1 month of F1 TV Pro if you're in the US only. So that's a nice little, actual productive benefit if you're an F1 fan. Right, now that basically concludes all my notes, my spiel, everything that I wanted to say. Of course, I've done the pricing, discounts, and all that stuff. So now I'm going to talk about my thoughts and, what I really think of this. Now, so far I've been pretty, fair. I'm going to keep that kind of trend. I'm very skeptical about this game. Make no mistake, the sales speak for themselves. I'll put the graph on screen now. The F1 sales have been terrible for a couple of years now, in a massive downward decline. This is the last year the F1 game, or EA, has the license for Formula 1. So there needs to be an improvement. Now, let's be honest, objectively speaking here, F1 2020 is skewed, and 21 is also skewed due to the pandemic. I think a lot of people are home with nothing to do or working from home. More spare time means more, time to game. So you're going to have high numbers. Everything's inflated. For me, in my analytics, everything's inflated. What happened during the pandemic era is never going to happen again in terms of numbers. So you then go to F1 22. The hype for that, you could possibly pin that on the new regs change and a massive, of course, wave of hype from the F1 2021 title battle. So the first real measuring stick is F1 23. And even compared to that, we are a long way away. So obviously, that goes without saying. It's happened for a multitude of reasons, and the games have been getting worse and worse and worse. F1 24, the biggest issue for me, handling and from a career mode point of view, is AI. Now, to be fair, the AI, Arava did an excellent job in his video yesterday talking about all the qualms, issues with my team in AI, which I do recommend you guys go watch. But regarding handling, I have mixed feelings. I don't mind it now. I'm used to it now, and there's things I like. But there's things that can't run. Like, for example, you've been watching sim racing or esports. Thomas Ronha, for example, is the most notable example when he makes overtakes to basically throw the car in and full lock it, because by throwing the car into full lock, it basically doesn't just turn, but actually stops the car more. So it's not just the braking falls, but by locking the wheels, you're slowing the car down more. Things like that, can't run. We need a massive handling overhaul and a real big improvement on that front. Now, I'm skeptical about this game. I'm very skeptical. I am concerned. I think they've blown their load, basically, for lack of a better term, in the reveal trailer. I don't think there's any more features to be shown. I think this is everything the game's going to have. So essentially, Breaking Point, which is a short and sweet thing, like a 1 week thing. You can get through it in a couple of days. My Team Revamp, which there's still a lot yet to see in, of course, the developer diaries or the deep dives per se. And then, yeah, this is why I'm pinning my hopes on the Ego engine. I really hope dropping the old gen consoles and getting the new consoles to be the bar in this situation is going to allow to really push things up a level in terms of physics, handling, track quality, fidelity, graphic fidelity and lighting, and really level things up and actually for once make the most of the next generation of consoles, because that could transform the experience quite heavily. Yeah, generally speaking, I'm not sure. This game concerns me. It has to be a home run, and for it to be a home run, you have to get the basics right. And to get the basics right, the handling has to be good. If you get good handling, people will enjoy driving it. If the handling is good, even if there's no updates to anything in terms of online, it just means league racing is fun again. It will take care of itself. If you have decent physics handling, the league racing will be better and more enjoyable. There'll be more people wanting to do it. Career mode can survive with dodgy handling. Career mode for me isn't dependent on handling. Career mode is dependent on AI. And last year's AI were freaking terrible. They were the worst AI we've had, I want to say, in over 10 years. Since F1 2014, I'd go as far back to say. I think they were better in 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, not 24. Obviously, 24's AI was unfinished. They overhauled the ERS system compared to 23, and it felt like they didn't actually apply that to the AI in 24 because the way they would race made no sense. DRS or ERS trains, and also the cars would kind of form up in blocks around the track and basically always be running together. There was a lot of recurring bugs and things which would signal they are unfinished. There's other things like driver transfers and things that could happen, but again, for career mode to be fun and to function, you need good AI with strong AI on 110 as well, by the way. But, the AI have to be good. Without that, you're not going to get a career mode. The same way you're not going to get online or good league racing without good handling. So those two things, which conveniently there's been no word of in the announcement or the reveal so far, is solely what this game is dependent upon. In the meantime, guys, hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below as well, because I think there's a lot to unpack in this game, and there's some potential there. I'm objectively, from 1 to 10, I'm about a 6 out of 10. I'm low-key excited, but I am ultimately still concerned the fundamentals might not be right. So, yeah, we'll see where this game takes us. In the meantime, guys, a massive shout out to my channel members for supporting all the content. Check out the 2 videos on screen. And guys, important again, subscribe for the latest breaking news regarding F1 25.